I'm non-binary. If you could not tell with the very large non-binary flag behind me, that has been in all of my videos, I identify as non-binary. I have identified as non-binary for 4 years-ish, a little more than 4 years. It was fall of 2021, so a little more than 4 years. And as somebody who is very masc, not very androgynous, and as previously mentioned, non-binary, I have learned over 4 years to expect certain things from people. And I've come to terms with those things. People aren't going to look at me and assume I'm non-binary. They're going to look at me and assume I'm a man. And that's okay. I have come to terms with that. And I am at the point where if someone is incorrectly using the wrong pronouns, I will correct them if I have the energy. A lot of times I won't correct them because, I'm never going to see them again. If it's like a waiter or something, I'm never going to see them again. And they clearly don't mean it purposely. They just don't know better. And that's the thing. A lot of people just don't know better. However, there's one recent occurrence that came of 2025 that and many mask presenting non-binary people have had to learn to figure out their response to and their feelings on, because it was not going to wait for them. It wasn't going to stop for them. That being the rise of performative male, not culture, but the idea of the performative man, and that being a bad thing, because I'm not a man, I'm non-binary. But as previously mentioned, a lot of people do not realize that off the bat. Before, people would look at me and say, well, that person that I think is a man is wearing jewelry, maybe has makeup on, is wearing an outfit that most cishet men I know don't wear, and is doing something like reading in a coffee shop, right, and carrying a tote bag. And the before the summer of 25, people would look at me and just assume, hey, that person's some sort of queer, Maybe if they don't know what non-binary is, they'll think I'm just a straight, a cis gay man or a bisexual man, right? That was the typical occurrence then. Now, people will come up to me and be like, oh, you're a performative man. Stop trying to be a performative man. Who are you trying to impress? Obviously, this is not something I enjoy as a mask-presenting non-binary person, so let's talk about that. My name is Robin. I go by The Eclectus on YouTube and on TikTok, and The Eclectus Familiar on Twitch. If you want to find those sites easily and support me, the link tree in my bio is probably your best bet. Now, back to the topic. Now, ironically enough, in terms of people who don't really understand non-binary people that well, ironically there is two groups I kind of lump them into. The first of those groups, which is the most common, and ironically the least harmful really of those groups, is people who assume that non-binary means androgynous, because that's very easily corrected, right? I'll talk to people, I'll correct them, be like, oh, I'm non-binary. They're like, oh, but I couldn't tell because you were very male presenting. I just thought all non-binary people looked androgynous. That's a pretty easy correction, And most of those people are just going off of their experience. They've never had someone in their life who's non-binary who doesn't, to them, come across as androgynous. However, there's a second group. This group's a lot more difficult to deal with. And that is those who assume non-binary people are all born women, are all born female. There are organizations, events, for example, that will be advertised as for women and non-binary. Any non-binary person can tell you right now, those events are not as advertised. How do I know that? Well, because I went to a few of those events when I was first in my process of coming out as non-binary. I'd go to those events, and I looked a lot more masked then. You know, my hair was a lot shorter than it is now. I dressed in a more stereotypically cis-het male way then. But I'd go to those events. At best, people would look at me funny and be like, why is that man here? They wouldn't say it. Worst case scenario, I was asked to leave a few times or justify my existence there. And when I told them, hey, I'm not binary, they're like, oh, well, you're not the type of person we're looking for. Which hurts both masculine and feminine presenting non-binary people, because it's obvious how it hurts the non-binary people by them basically saying, we don't think you're non-binary because you're not X, Y, and Z, right? But for femme presenting non-binary people, that's basically saying, we think you're a woman so you're allowed to be here, right? It's not validating to any non-binary person. Those events are awful, right? But why am I talking about that? Well, it's the fact that there are different layers really to people who don't understand what being non-binary is. There's different layers to why that is, right? And for that latter group, the ones who are like, oh, all non-binary people have to be born as women, or else, you know, that's just it. It's woman light. It's woman too. It's woman but different, which is obviously wrong. It's not correct. But it doesn't matter. And people will see this as funny enough, they'll see this like I'm being woke because I'm acknowledging that some women are non-binary. You see the irony in that statement. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying people think like that. People have thought like that. People are going to continue to think like that. So when these people see me, minding my own goddamn business, by the way, I'm wearing headphones, right? I feel like wearing headphones is a pretty surefire way of me saying, hey, I'm just not trying to take up space. I'm just trying to do my own thing. Also, reading in coffee shops is normal. The fact that people will, especially, and I've also found it's never been men. You know, it's never been cis-het men. It has been cis-het women who have come up to me every time. How many times has it happened? Keeping tally, 11. 11 times has it happened to me. Right? Great. Oh, where people have, these cis-het women have the gall to come out to me and be like, what you're doing, I perceive you as a man should not be doing that. We should also talk about the fact that a lot of the traits like associated with performative men are positive traits. You know, things like reading, good for your brain. Taking care of your appearance and having good hygiene. Being engaged in feminist literature. I don't think I've ever read feminist literature. I'm always reading like fantasy books and stuff like that, but the opposite of those is worse. Would you rather have an illiterate man who smells and dresses like shit? Like, but then again, people will come up to me and they'll be like, you shouldn't be doing that. I perceive you as a man. Men should be doing these things. Ignoring the fact that I am non-binary, because in the before times, before this whole entire rise in the perception of performative men, people saw what I do on a daily basis of sometimes wearing makeup, wearing jewelry, painting my nails, reading in coffee shops, carrying around a tote bag. They just assume I'm some kind of queer, like that I'm just a cis gay man or a bisexual man. They just assume that, you know, which people wouldn't really bat an eye at least cis-het women were. And ironically enough, a lot of these women who have approached me have been left-leaning. I think not one of them has ever clocked me as a Trump supporter or as a conservative. They've all been left-leaning in a feeble attempt to be woke or misgendering me, Because even if I was a man and male presenting and a man and male identifying, what they would be doing by trying to get me to stop doing these positive things is only really reinforcing patriarchal ideas. It does nobody any good. But me, it does double no good because cool. Now I'm feeling dysphoric. Now I'm feeling like I shouldn't be doing the things I enjoy, things I've been doing before the rise of the performative man. Right, I've been reading in coffee shops for years, even before I came out as non-binary. I was reading in coffee shops, but that's just a reality. A lot of mass presenting non-binary people have dealt with. It's also a reality that a lot of cishet men who have done these things before it was popularly categorized as performative. First of all, everything you do around people is performative, whether or not you want to admit it. Whether or not you want to admit it. Anything that you do around another person, if that thing you are aware of, if that's something you're actively doing, and being perceived doing under the knowledge that you are being perceived doing it, you're being performative. You're doing it in a certain way for a certain reason, okay? Performative doesn't mean bad as long as you're actually enjoying what you're doing. Like if someone's reading something and they enjoy reading, and you're like doing it around people, because sometimes you're like me and you don't want to do this in your apartment all day and you want to get some fresh air and you want to get a cup of coffee or what, a matcha. I don't like matcha that much. Matcha's good. Funny enough, any single thing you do right now down the line can be seen as performative. Right? Maybe you enjoy, I don't know, maybe you enjoy eating hot dogs with relish. And like 2 years from now, eating hot dogs with relish can be seen as performative for a certain group of people to do. Don't let that stop you. And again, I'm not going to stop doing what I like doing. I'm just saying that it stinks as a non-binary person that doing what I'm doing now carries the risk of being labeled as a type of man. It really stinks that I now have the knowledge that this might happen and is actually happening. It sucks for men. It sucks even more for mask-presenting non-binary people. Basically, to sum everything up that I've been saying, as a non-binary person, it is very disheartening that that many cishet women see the need to do this witch hunt for performative men, and in the Crossfire exists me and several other mask-presenting non-binary people. These ideas of the performative man are rooted in patriarchal ideas, and trying to dissuade men from partaking in things like reading, caring about their fashion, caring about their hygiene, are only harmful to both the men that they are trying to dissuade and the women who are dissuading them. That's just my opinion, though. Let me know what you think. Are you non-binary and mask and have this problem? Do you disagree with me entirely? You're allowed to do that. I don't care. Just let me know what you think. That's all for today, I think. You take care.